Krishna Dvaipayana, the great sage, who was also known as Vyasa, as the compiler of Vedas. Though the Vedas are considered to be over 100,000 years old, and it remained an oral tradition that people from generation to generation transmitted it through oral traditions by telling it to each other. These are generations of people who understood the significance of sound, so they refused to write down the impact and significance of sound. Because of all the things that we use, the subtlest form of physicality is sound. Everything else that you use is electromagnetic, including what happens in your brain. So they did not attach too much importance to the thought, to the emotion, to whatever else happens. But sound was considered significant because it is the subtlest form of physicality and it could be used with immense and devastating impact. So, they maintained oral traditions, never written down. But then once it happened, the rich Gangetic plain was struck by a famine which lasted for over 14 years. They say for 14 years and not a drop of rain came, crops dried up. The civilizations of the day wilted away. People forgot to say the Vedas because they were picking up berries and nuts to eat. They completely forgot their traditions. So when once again the rains came and Vyasa saw the loss that had happened to that civilization because they had lost the Vedas, he thought it is best that it is written down, so he compiled it. People say, he could only remember and compile, he could only gather only about 8% of the Vedas. This 8% was classified into 4 segments of Veda called the Rig Veda, Atharvana Veda, Sama Veda and Yajur Veda. I am saying in that order because that is not the order that people use today, but traditionally that's the order. So this 8% became 4 Vedas. Even today, these 4 Vedas are considered to be among the greatest documents that humanity has ever compiled or prepared. But it was only 8% of what was said and what he could remember, he put it together. So the next time, he wanted to compile a great story, an eternal story, which could be relevant to people forever and ever. He did not want to take chances. He spoke to 2 people. One is Vaishampayana, his disciple, who heard in awe. But you know, disciples can distort. I know. So he hired a god. That's why we got him here today, just in case you get it wrong. And the deal was he has to write down, because Vyasa wouldn't trust the human memory anymore, because this method of transmitting through human memory was in the Satyuga, when people were of a certain mental caliber. As this caliber came down towards Kali, we're going up right now, okay? As it started receding, Vyasa thought it is best, it is written down. You cannot trust human memory anymore and they will distort. So there was one person writing down, another person listening. But unfortunately, the written document was so attractive It was such a grand piece of literature, the gods came and stole it. And they took it away. So, the way we know Mahabharat is only to the extent Vaishampayana remembered, not the way Ganapati wrote down. So still, it is these 100,000 verses that we are talking about are still only a fragment of what he spoke. Out of those 100,000, I will speak less than 8%. So, you need to be absolutely involved, not looking at it like a piece of his story, as your story, being a part of it, because we want to walk through the story, not hear somebody else's story. And these were times when the transaction between the planet Earth and other forms of life was very frequent. So there are various aspects to this which you will find is simply unbelievable for you, but you should not disbelieve anything. Because we are 21st century, we value dissection more than an embrace. Yes, listen to me. We value dissections more than an embrace. We will turn back and dissect later. Right now, I want you to be an embrace with this story and with these people and with these characters, with the human beings, animal forms, yakshas, kinnaras, ganas, devas, gods, goddesses, all kinds. I want you to be in an embrace, not in a state of dissection. You'll miss the whole spirit of what it is. So over 7,000 years ago, we will start 7,000, okay? You want to start further back? Okay, much further back, there was a priest, a master priest, whose name was Brihaspati. Even today, if somebody is very brilliant, very capable, people say he's a Brihaspati. His name is still in usage, because he was a master priest, a master scholar. So naturally, Indra, the king of gods, himself, the king of devas, hired him as his official priest. Why a priest was very important for these days is because this is Dwapara Yuga. This is a time when ritual was the most significant aspect of their life, where they learned to use methods around them, substances around them, in a way to impact their own life, the situations around them, and also other people's lives. A remnant of this ritualistic culture still lives on. Down south, probably, Kerala has kept more ritual than any other part of the country. Kerala has kept it probably in a better state of purity than any other part of the country. It is completely horribly corrupted up north where the story happened, that is present Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and those regions. Middle India, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, they kept it to some extent, but not with profound understanding of what it is. We can say it even today, it is Kerala which keeps the ritual not in the best purity, but in the maximum purity that's available right now in the country or in the world. The worst you will find up in Tibet. All Hindu rituals distorted very badly, and unfortunately, Gautam Buddha is being tortured with rituals. All his life was to free humanity from ritual, because he was at the cusp where time was shifting from Kali Yuga to Dwapara Yuga. So he wanted to relieve the humanity, because he knew last time in Dwapar Yuga they were so ritualistic, so he wanted to relieve them of ritual. So he insisted only on meditation and meditation and meditation. But today, the Buddhist cultures have become far more ritualistic than any Hindu cultures in the country. So from north to south, you will see the very tip. Later on we'll come to this. Krishna himself felt if he sends the deities and the rituals across the Western Ghats to Kerala, they will live better. And that is the reason why Guruvayur temple was set up. We will come to that, how he took care to set it up beyond the mountains so that it is not corrupted by that day's culture. So Vaishampayana told the story after the war was over to the second generation of the same dynasty of emperors called Janamejaya. Now when Bruhaspati was the main priest or the official priest of Indra, who was the king of Devas, had a wife whose name was Tara. Bruhaspati represents the planet, the Jupiter. Tara means the stars. So these two were married, and this is one thing that you need to understand. In the ritualistic way of life in this country, a woman's place in the ritual is as important as the man's. This simple arrangement in ancient India made sure that though the physical conditions outside were harsh, still a woman found an equal place, because a man cannot perform a ritual without his wife. A man cannot go attain to mukti without his wife. A man cannot receive blessing without his wife. A man cannot go to heaven without his wife. What a serious handicap. So at that time, the social norms or what was referred to as dharma fixed it so that a woman cannot be used or abused or neglected, because she is such an important part of… If you tell him she is a very important part of your physical life, very clearly man can see that everything in the physical world happens because of him and his muscle. He would just wipe her out. But the other dimension of your life is not possible for you unless your woman is next to you. This one thing fixed him up in such a way that he has to value the woman. So Bruhaspati needed Tara for everything that he wanted to do. Though he is the king of God, Indra's priest, without Tara, he is crippled and he will become unemployed. So he was holding on to her only because she is useful for his employment, otherwise he'll lose his employment. And he himself philandering all over the place. Seeing this, one day she looked up at the full moon and fell in love with the moon god. So, moon god Chandra himself came down and they got into a big romance, and after some time she eloped with him. Bruhaspati became furious because it's not just about losing a wife, you lost your job, you lost your prestige, you lost your place in the society, and you can't enter Devaloka or the god's world anymore. So he called Indra and he said, I want my wife back, you have to get her back, otherwise I will not perform your rituals. So Indra interfered and compelled Tara for the first time. I'm saying for the first time, because this is the first time where somebody is compelling somebody to stick to a certain family structure. And he compelled and said, you have to come back. She said, no, my love is up there. He said, it doesn't matter what your emotions are, the dharma is you must be with him, because unless you stay with him, my rituals will go bad. So she was brought back. And then Tara was pregnant. Brihaspati wanted to know, whose child is it? Tara refused to speak. People gathered. Tara refused to speak. Then, from inside the womb, the unborn child asked the question, whose child am I really? Then all the people assembled was in huge appreciation of the intelligence of this child, wanting to know, when he is still in the womb, what seed is he made of. People said, you may refuse to tell your husband, you may refuse to tell the gods, but you cannot refuse to tell your unborn child. So, Tara said, it is Chandra's child. Brihaspati got so angry that his wife is carrying the child of another man. He cursed the child. He said, may you become a neuter, that you will be neither a man nor a woman. So, this child was born and he was named as Budh. Budh once again means Buddha or Mercury. So Budh was named as Budh because he is neither man nor a woman, he is a neuter. He grew up and he lamented with his mother, what am I supposed to do? Should I live as a man? Should I live as a woman? What is my dharma? Should I follow the masculine dharma? Should I follow the feminine dharma? What should I do? Should I become an ascetic? Should I get married? Whom should I marry? Should I marry a man or should I marry a woman? Tara said, when this existence has space, when this existence has accommodation for all these billions and billions of stars and other kinds of things, and variety of creatures who are neither men nor women nor gods nor devils, when this existence has space for all that, don't you worry, for you also there is space. For you also there will be a life. You simply be, life will come your way. So Buddha grew up, neither being a man nor a woman. One day, King Sadhguru went hunting in the forest. And in that forest, Shiva and his wife Parvati were there, and in a whim, Parvati said, she looked at the animals, the bull elephants, the lions with huge mane, peacocks strutting around. She said, my love for you is such that I feel these bull elephants, these lions with huge manes, these peacocks with fabulous plumes, all this is an insult for you. I want you to make this forest in such a way, there is no other male but you. Shiva was in a romantic mode. He said, okay, let everything in this forest turn female. So everything in the forest turned female. The lions become lionesses, the bull elephants become cow elephants, peacocks became peahens. King Sadhguru turned into a woman. He looked at himself, a brave king who came hunting in the forest, suddenly he has become a woman. He cried, who did this to me? which yaksha, which demon, who cursed me like this? In great despondency, he searched around and then he found Shiva and Parvati in romance. He came and fell at Shiva's feet and said, "This is not fair. I am a king, I am a man, I have a family. I just came hunting and you turn me into a woman. How do I go back? What do I do?" Shiva looked and he looked at her. You asked, what do I do? He said, "See, I cannot take back what I have done, but I can correct it a bit. We'll make it in such a way for you. When the moon is in the waning mode, you will remain a woman. When the moon is in a waxing mode, you will become a man, so that it is partly corrected, the mistake I have done for you." So Sudyumna lived in the forest, refused to go back, and he became known as Ila. Many of you heard of Ila in probably the name Ila in many different ways. Ila is that man and that woman who was in one half of the month was male, in another half of the month was female. One day it so happened, Buddha and Ila met and it was a perfect match. Both of them were male and female at the same time, so they met. Between them, they had many children. These children were called as Elas. These Elas became the first Chandravamshis. In the tradition of the kings in this country, there are Suryavamshis and Chandravamshis, descendants of the sun and descendants of the moon. They're distinctly different type of people. The sun people are conquerors, all clear-cut, black and white people. Chandravamshis are… every day is different. They are very emotional, artistic, highly unreliable. The examples, the great examples that you would have invariably heard of from the Suryavamshi culture, or the greatest one is Manu himself, then comes Ikshvaku. Down the line, there are many Harishchandra, and of course, there is nobody who does not know of Ram of Ayodhya, Dasharatha and Ayodhya, Bharata. So we will talk about Chandravamshis because the Kurus largely belong to Chandravamshis. Though here and there the lineages meet, they are largely Chandravamshis. That explains their emotionally inflamed states through which they act. So between Buddha and Ila, they had children, and one of them was Nahusa. Nahusa became a great emperor, and we will revisit Nahusa later because he became a great king, and then he was invited to Devaloka, to Indra's palace. And Indra had some other chore, or he was going on a vacation. So he told Nahusa, "You take care of my Devaloka for some time. Enjoy yourself. Be here, administer the place well." So the moment Indra left, Nahusa became so proud of this little chore that was given to him, just to take care of the place when Indra is not there. He went and sat on Indra's throne. He called just about any apsara that he wanted. That was not enough. Indra's wife Sachi, his eyes fell on her. So he started compelling her, "Now I am sitting on the throne, I am Indra, you are mine. In many ways she tried to avoid him, but he started forcing himself. So Sachi said, yes, now you are Indira, I will be yours. Only thing is, you must be carried by the Saptarishis. The 7 sages should carry you and bring you here on a palanquin. Then I will be yours. So he demanded the Saptarishis should carry him on a palanquin to Sachi's palace. They carried him. He was in too much pride and rush. He felt they were not walking fast enough. So Agastya Muni, who was holding the right side of his palanquin, he kicked him in the head. Go faster. Agastya just looked at him and said, too much has gotten into you. You have become so base. You are unfit not just to be in Devaloka, even you're unfit to be a human being. You become something very base. You become a python. Python is a very base animal. So Nahusha fell from Devaloka down in the form of a python. The python will come back later. There's still a lot of things to happen before the python comes back, because he's a slow guy, you know. Nahusha bore children. The 2 important ones are Yati and Yayati. Yati, known for his character and his phenomenal intellect, looked at the world one glance and he said, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And he withdrew into the mountains and became an ascetic. So he became a Yati in the Himalayas. His name still lives on. Yayati became a king. On the other side, Brihaspati was the priest for the Devas. But Shukra was the priest for the Asuras. Asuras are historically, people are trying to describe them as Azurs or Azuras or the Parsi people. They're also… some archaeologists are saying Asuras came from South America. They were the Incas and the Mayans who traveled here and they were known as Asuras. Their priest was Shukracharya. Shukracharya had immense capabilities. Brihaspati was doing ritual for Devas, Shukracharya was doing work for the Asuras. Devas and Asuras constantly fought in the Gangetic plains because Devas were trying to descend from the higher regions, Asuras were trying to move away from the desert into more fertile region of the heartland of India. Constant battles happened. But Asuras had one advantage, they had Shukracharya and he had the power of Sanjeevani. Have you drank the Ganji? He had the power of Sanjeevani, that he had a Sanjeevani mantra that whoever died in the battle, he would revive them. So all the Asuras who died fighting in the battle, at the end of the day, they were all revived. And again they're ready for fighting tomorrow morning. How do you fight an army like this? When you kill them, they must stay dead. Yes? When you kill somebody, they must stay dead. If they come back, how do you fight them? Because of Shukracharya, they kept reviving and Devas were desperate. So Brihaspati's son, Kecha, came down to Shukracharya, bowed down to him and said, I am the grandson of Angira, son of Brihaspati. I come from good lineage. I want to be your disciple, please receive me. The asuras warned Shukracharya, this guy is from the opposite camp. Obviously he has come to learn the secret of Sanjeevani. Let's kill him right now. Shukracharya said, no, the boy has done no harm to us and he's come the right way. He has the necessary qualifications to be a disciple, so I cannot refuse. So the dharma of the day said, if somebody deserves to be taught, he cannot be refused. There was no capitation fee. Don't believe that. There is decapitation fee. We'll come to that later. So, Kacha was received as the disciple and he proved to be a worthy disciple. He served his master and took every instruction and was very much a part of that. Shukra had a daughter whose name was Devyani. Devyani looked at this young man and slowly succumbed and fell in love with him. But this young man was not focused on the young girl who is there, he is only focused on the purpose for which he has come. Whatever she did, she couldn't draw his attention for a moment. He is there for the purpose for which he is there. He could not be deviated from what he's come for. The asuras knew he is come for Sanjeevani. So one day, he was grazing his master's cattle in the forest. The asuras pounced upon him, killed him, tore him into bits and threw him to the wild animals to be eaten. Then in the evening, when he did not come back, only the cows came back and the boy did not come back. Devyani was heartbroken. She went to her father and she cried, he's not come back, something has happened, somebody has done something to him. You must bring him back to life wherever he is. Kind of giving in to his daughter's need, Shukracharya used the Sanjeevani and brought back Kacha. And when he was asked what happened, Kacha described what happened, how the asuras pounced on him and killed him. And when he was told this, he said, be careful, yes, I can understand, asuras don't like you, you are from the enemy camp, but I am treating you as my disciple. After a few days, Kacha went to pluck flowers for the morning worship. The asuras caught hold of him, killed him, ground him, ground his flesh and bone, mixed it with salt water in the sea and took a little bit of it and mixed it in the wine and gave it to Shukracharya. Unknowingly, Shukracharya drank the wine. Then when Kacha did not turn up, Devyani hollered and Shukracharya said, it looks like it's his destiny to be dead. He is dying too often. There is no point going on bringing him back. Someone of your intelligence, someone of your breeding, someone of your exposure to life should not be crying about life and death. This is something that happens to every creature. Let him be dead. Waking up somebody too often is not good. But Devyani is heartbroken. Either Kacha comes back or I will also drown myself in the lake. Not willing to allow that to happen, Shukracharya said, let's do it for the last time. And he tried to use the mantra and then he found rumblings in his stomach. Kacha, kach from inside. Then Shukracharya got furious, who did this? Is this also Asura's work? How can they do this? Then Kacha spoke from within and narrated the whole story, how they killed him, how they ground him, mixed him with salt water, and they took the organs, ground that and mixed it with the wine. Then Shukracharya became very angry. This is not fair, going this far, that now they put him in my belly. Either I have to let him stay dead, or if I bring him alive, I have to die. He thought, maybe I must just resign this job and join the Devas. I'm being treated too badly. How dare they put this boy in my belly? But Devyani cried. She said, I am neither willing to live without Kacha nor without you. If any one of you die, I will drown myself. He told Kacha, you have succeeded in the mission for which you came. You wanted to know the secret of Sanjeevani and you're a deserving candidate. Now I will teach you the secret of Sanjeevani and then I will use it. You will burst out of my body, which will lay me dead. You use the Sanjeevani, bring me back to life and find your life wherever. So he used the Sanjeevani and like a rising moon, Kacha grew in his stomach and burst out of Shukracharya. Shukracharya fell dead. And a scream went up from Devyani. And then Kacha, who had learned the mantra, used the mantra and brought Shukracharya back to life, bowed down to him and was about to leave. Devyani said, you cannot leave. I have loved you. Devyani begged him. This lineage of people who come from combination of Chandra, the moon, a highly emotional process, and Budh means Mercury. Budh also means the intellect. So it is a mixture of emotion and intellect. So they are not people who are completely lost in emotion, it's interwoven with intellect, which makes them much richer kind of life than the Suryavamshis. However much she begged Kacha, Kacha said, I am your father's disciple. On that level, you are like my sister. Another thing is, just now I came out of your father's body, so he is also my mother. So that way also you are my sister. So there is no way. You forget about this. And he walked away. The king of the area, the Asura king, who was known as Vishaparva, his daughter Sharmistha and Devyani were close friends. A certain incident occurred which became the root of the Kuru dynasty in a way. These two young girls went out to the river to bathe. They put their clothes and jewels separately. You must understand separately, because one is the daughter of a king, she is a princess, but she is an Asura princess. Devyani is the daughter of Shukracharya, a priest. That means she is from the Brahmin clan, and in those days it is held as the highest group among the social groups. So their clothes should not be mixed, they were kept separately. So they were playing in the river and a big wind came, clothes rolled over and they got little mixed up. When they came out of the river, naturally in a hurry to dress up. Sharmiste, by mistake, wore Devyani's clothes, parts of it. Devyani, half in jest, but half establishing her superiority, she said, "How does it seem that you should be wearing the clothes of your father's guru's daughter? How should it feel? And how is it appropriate?" So, Sharmiste realized the mistake and she flew into a rage, being a princess. She said, "Your father is a beggar. In front of my father, he bows down. He lives out of him. It is what my father doles out, with that you live. You better know your place." And she pushed her into a pit. The girl fell down and she left her there and went away in a huff. So later on, Devyani came back home. She plunged into her father's lap and cried for revenge. She said, "You have to teach this princess a lesson." Then Shukracharya demanded, for the insult that she had imposed on his daughter, he demanded the princess should become a maid for her girl. The king had no other way, because without Shukracharya, he would be lost because he brings the dead alive. So Sharmiste became a maid. You will see throughout the story, there are curses and boons. Boons and curses, curses and boons. But you don't know whether a curse is a boon or a boon is a curse. Because life has its own way of mixing things up. A curse becomes a boon becomes a curse. Sharmiste was cursed to be a maid to Devyani. Then it so happened that Devyani's marriage was arranged with Yayati. She did not want it to end there. She said Sharmiste should follow her as her maid, personal maid, to her new home where she goes as a wife. So accordingly, Sharmiste followed. Somebody did something, she took her revenge, she should have left it there. She wanted to draw it, she wanted to rub it in some more, so she took her. Then Yayati and Devyani left. Devyani had a son whose name was Yadu. You still have his clan fighting right now in UP. All the Yadavas came from the Yadukula. And Sharmiste was Devyani's maid. Being a princess, she carried herself with a certain dignity. She made herself even more attractive than Devyani. Invariably, Yayati fell in love with Sharmiste. And a secret love affair happened and they had a child. And that child is Puru, who in many ways became the father of the Kuru dynasty. From Puru, a few generations down, came Dushyanta, Bharata and Vitata and down to Shantanu. There are interesting stories all along, but the relentless march of time, we have to respect that. Yadu, though is the first son who should have naturally become the king, did not become the king because Yayati, because of a certain misdemeanor, that is, when Shukracharya realized that Yayati has been deceiving his daughter and he's had a child with the maid, he cursed him, "May you lose your youth and become an old man." He lost his youth and became an old man, and he struggled with this, he could not come to terms with this. When Yadu grew up and became a fine youth, he asked him, "Give me your youth for a few years. Let me enjoy the youth and then I will give it back to you." Yadu said, "Nothing doing, I'm not interested. First thing you deceived my mother, now you want to deceive me of my youth? No." So Yayati cursed Yadu, "May you never be a king." The second son, Puru, born to Sharmiste, when he became a youth, he voluntarily offered his youth to his father. "Father, you enjoy the youth, it doesn't mean anything to me." So Yayati became youthful once again and lived as a young man for a period of time, and then when he felt he's done with it, he gave it back to his son and made him the king. Puru became the king. From there, his descendants later on came to be known as Kurus, from which both the Pandavas and the Kauravas come. The whole story is about this clan of people.
For more videos, please subscribe. Press bell icon and never miss an update.